fucked up a test they were trying to do. For some reason, she had to leave and he got to stay. Again, that has not been explored yet. I'm sure we'll find out as we go along. So, like, you know, they could be making a point that, like, yeah, harmony, you know, men and women working together, you know, creating something greater than each other. Sounds reasonable. I'm down for that. But, I mean, I'm just gonna make the case here that there really is only the barest semblance of substance behind this thing. I think I feel safe in saying that. I haven't seen the whole show, you know, I admit it. I admit these are kind of like preliminary analyses. Maybe it'll blow me away later, but guys, just look at the facts. So first of all, innocuous point, the girls on their school uniforms have X's across their kind of throat area, and the boys have inverted Y's. X chromosome, Y chromosome. I mean, okay, that's fine. You're coding your characters. That's okay. Incidentally, I pointed this out on Twitter a while ago. I am a genius. But please behold with your own eyes the things that are fucking said during the controlling of the Franxx. Just look at this.
People who watch anime, they don't really know what they want. You've heard this ad nauseum, but reactionary culture has somehow even weeded its way into the media analysis community, a community specifically created to stew on and properly analyze pieces of media for their complete value. Don't review shows before they're done, is what I'm saying, but you know. The mecha in mecha anime are vehicles for the themes of a series. Many of our favorite mecha shows use these robots themselves as concepts for characters to bounce off of, making the dynamic between robot and pilot as important as the dynamic with the rest of the cast. All renowned and memorable mecha shows share this in common, from a robot that symbolizes the complex troubles of being entitled with massive amounts of power, to a robot that reflects the importance of having people support you emotionally in different stages of your life. From a robot that showcases us the terror of overbearing a developing youth with expectations, to a robot that basks in the joy of giving life our all and achieving our potential. Mecha is an avenue for our characters to develop in unique, exciting, and bombastic ways. Something that might attribute the glorious emotional highs mecha shows are so familiar with reaching. All this by the endless openness of design mecha allows, having a number of pilots, technicality in its mechanics, and ways of engaging with enemies be a narrative of its own. The 2018 trigger blockbuster Darling in the Franxx also creates a formidable allegory of a robot with the titular Franxx. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because like mecha, adult themes of sex are an equally interesting tool to explore characters and dynamics. Franxx is a show about relationships. Another vehicle utilized early in the series is that of sex. More specifically, the mecha are representations of sexual and emotional compatibility between characters. I'm going to paraphrase a quote from the Artopsy podcast by the artist Glitch Puppet, in which they state that sexual themes are a great way to explore characters' feelings in a more intimate way. People act and react to others in very peculiar ways when it comes to sexual and intimate situations. And in these, small actions speak volumes. Every statement and insinuation becomes heightened, and chemistry becomes crucial. Writing a show with realistic relationships can be hard. Adding things getting a little sexual, and it doesn't get much harder than that. But perhaps it is because these sex themes relate and intertwine with the mecha elements that Franxx can deliver a very gripping experience. Franxx's first episode opens up the world, culture, and politics of Franxx in its poetry-obsessed manner. I found weak and uninteresting. The role seems stereotypical, the relationships needlessly anime, which is code for bad. It seems to be, by all means, the same tired-out show I've come to expect out of the eye strain known as seasonal anime. only with actually good character design, setting, and animation. This obviously puts it above mountains of anime that come out every season with little to no visual value. All this said, it felt boring and cliche all the way up to episode 2, which is the best episode of the series and also arguably the best episode I've seen all year. It's pretty good. This is where Franxx starts. The dynamic of the themes of sexual compatibility get explored wonderfully through the character relationships, while also splicing in entertaining cinematography. Characters that were previously presented as two-dimensional are suddenly given depth, making their outlook on life clear and colorful. The show does this all throughout, thanks to the nature of the show's whole spiel, the interconnectivity between two people in and outside the Franxx. The show grows ripe for interesting and believable drama, while the sexually natured mechanics of the robots allows it to delve into more intimate relationship interactions than anime ever dares to do, and it feels carefully planned and appropriate. Through the remaining run of the show, more intertwining character narratives will build up the cool fights and fun moments, even if it does slow down significantly at parts. Some scenes will feel like glimpses of the best the team has to offer, referencing, homaging, and learning from previous beloved series, which is, at this point a trigger standard. Some parts will just make you appreciate it ever more though. The show had criticism waiting since its inception, aligning itself between A1 Pictures, a studio infamous for poorly written shows, and Studio Trigger, which is, depending on who you ask, the best thing since wrestling or a bunch of scribbling motion tweening idiots. The initial crossover of divisive talents already had most people on edge, me included, so as soon as the crudeness and over-sexualization reared its head in, the show was met with dismissal and hate from all the corners of the anime community. Yet, I found its raunchiness comforting and inviting, its lack of subtlety new and refreshing, its straightforwardness appealing. Kinda funny that anime fans constantly criticize anime for lacking maturity and interesting novel topics to the medium, but when shows try it, they get crucified as silly and crude. Meanwhile, shows adding a new coat of paint to regurgitated ideas get praised and loved. I don't know, I digress. Criticism about lack of world development falls into deaf ears. The show is about personal relationships, love triangles, goofy, inexperienced teen stuff, and it achieves these better than series set in more grounded settings, making these weird future soldiers who don't even know what a kiss is feel more human than a myriad of anime high schoolers. Kiss Niver is Trigger's other show about boy meets girl meets mechanism that represents and intensifies character relationships and dynamics, except that Kiss Niver attempts to do it about communities, where Franxx is about partnership. Obviously they are different shows that go for different messages, but comparing them kinda lets us see how well Franxx works out. Firstly, every character in Franxx gets believable human development. Even characters no one expected to be written as more than a joke turn out to have relatable stories told throughout the run of the show. And the ones that don't, well, at least they're charming. I can't really say the same for Kisniver on that front, good as it may be. Listen, Franxx, it ain't perfect. The gay boys get shafted narratively pretty hard, which is, again, another trigger standard at this point. The political views are a bit narrow, and feel like messages contradict as it goes on, and sometimes the character backstories teeter on soppy and, boring. But the novelty of how the themes are presented, and the fact that some of these themes are even expressed at all, makes it a worthwhile watch. You often don't see narratives like this in anime. It's not necessarily the most mature or elegant ecosystem when it comes to these things. But say what you will, maybe the execution and focus isn't to your liking, but the fact that I could tune in into an anime that could respectfully and interestingly offer captivating adult dramatic narratives without shying away from the obvious logical conclusions to these interactions is an achievement in and of itself. I'd say that makes it pretty good, even if it says more about anime in general than it does about Franxx. Thank you for watching.
見たこと